I saw a bunch of movies over the holiday.
Me too.
I saw The Wrestler.
I saw that.
I saw Frost Nixon, and I saw The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. But before we get to any of those, you saw The Spirit, right? And for those who watched our previous set of segments before the end of 2008, you were really looking forward to seeing The Spirit because you wanted to be able to rip it if it was really bad. So I'm curious, was it good?
I don't even know, like, where to begin with that fucking movie. Avi and I wanted to go see it because we knew it was going to be bad, okay? That was our intention. We were going to go there and we were going to have a good time. That's the whole point. We're going to have a good time. We're going to rip on the movie. It's going to be great. As we're driving to the theater, we started talking about and reminding each other about the stuff that we've seen lately in The Spirit. Right. Of like what we've seen on the trailers, what we've seen on the internet and stuff. And by the time I parked the car, we were both like, fuck, why are we doing this? Like, we both were like, we just totally convinced ourselves in the car, just talking about it, how much we don't really want to see it.
Right.
So we went, we saw it. Within the first 5 minutes of the movie, I wanted to leave.
That's not good.
No.
That's not good.
And you know, it's going to be, you're just going to be in for fucking hell when... Alright, see, this is the thing with Frank Miller, okay? That, from my perspective, Frank Miller is so full of his own bullshit now that no one's a bigger fan of Frank Miller than Frank Miller.
Yeah.
And within the first 10 minutes of the movie, 5-10 minutes, Frank Miller puts himself in the movie. A speaking role.
Oh, he wasn't like a corpse or anything? He was just like...
Well, he does die.
Oh. But he puts himself in the movie?
Yeah, he puts himself in the movie as it's being... He does this awful fucking accent. But he puts himself in the movie for the first 10 minutes. I'm like... Avi and I just both looked at each other and were like, what the fuck? Like, this is how this piece of shit's gonna go down? Alright. I mean, this is how it's gonna go down. And man, that movie was fucking brutal. The dialogue was ridiculous, and if you read All-Star Batman and Robin, it's on par with that. It's like, you know, the phrase "love chunks" in All-Star Batman and Robin being repeated like every other word balloon. Well, this movie, I cannot believe how many. I lost count of how many times they actually said sans serif, sans serif, sans serif, sans serif. Like everyone was saying sans serif. It must have been at least 100 times in that movie that the name sans serif was uttered. The people in that movie were all awful. I mean, and for Frank Miller to even be called a director is just an insult to every director out there in the guild. This is Frank Miller like idea of direction. Put down a camera on a tripod and just leave it there static and have shit happen in front of it. Don't move the camera. Don't do anything. Just let the scene play out, and then every once in a while cut into a close up of somebody full on. You know, or like a 3/4 shot, no silhouette, like not even like half shot. It's just like his shitty storyboards, all right? But this movie, there was the direction. Oh my god! If there needed to be any direction, there needed to be direction to the actors. Yeah. I don't know how those people thought making that movie was a good idea. Like, you know, I kind of like Scarlett Johansson. She's made some decent movies, but she was awful in that movie. She was probably the worst person in. Well, I take that back. The Gabriel Mott guy who played the Spirit. Yeah. Jesus, that guy's never ever gonna work again. Was there any boobage? Did Ava Mendes show boobs? No, but they showed her ass. I wanted to see boobage. Dude, Ava Mendes was terrible in that movie. But she's hot. I don't get the whole Ava Mendes thing. I don't. I think she's hot. She's. Oh. I haven't seen it. There's nothing redeemable about that movie at all. And it didn't do very well at the box office. It did. The first 4 days, the first opening weekend, it did just over $10 million. Ooh. I mean, and I can go on and on and on and tell you like what I thought about the movie and scene for scene and what I thought wrong, but nothing is gonna live up to the fact that you just need to see this movie for yourself. Don't go pay to see it. And if it's at like $1 theater or something, which will probably be next week. Go see it because it needs to be seen to be believed. Because like just as the movie played on, like scene after scene, there's no plot at all. Every scene, like seriously, watching that movie, I felt like I watched the movie 5 times because every scene in the movie was exactly the same as the last scene, and all the dialogue was almost exactly the same. It was all about like, oh, God, it was so bad. Samuel L. Jackson, fucking terrible. Eva Mendes, terrible. Gabriel Mott, more than terrible. Like Scarlett Johansson, fucking terrible. The only good thing about that movie was that they had the dad from the Wonder Years in it. He played a cop. He's the only good thing about the movie. And he was fucking terrible too. Frank, and I now hope that Buck Rogers thing that Frank Miller was lined up to do, I think Frank Miller's done. I mean, I think he is done in Hollywood. That's it. I don't know how he got this movie financed. They won't release how much it cost. Right. I would love to know how much money that movie cost to make. Because I want to know how much Lionsgate sunk into that piece of shit. Oh my God.
See, the sad part is that we're talking about an actual comic book creator doing something that...
And he pisses all over Will Eisner's creation.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be best friends with Will Eisner.
Yeah. And it's like, that's something that a typical Hollywood director would do. Like, totally, like, trash a work. But this is someone who was
and it's not even
the
spirit. It's the spirit in name. The character has his origin. It's fucking ludicrous. It has nothing to do with the original spirit.
Right.
In name only. And yeah, you think that a comic book creator who's best friends with the actual creator of this character would give it a little bit more respect. No, it was like watching a fucking Sin City movie. Mm-hmm. For as bad as those are, or as bad as the movie was and as bad as the comics are, that's all it was. Mm-hmm. I don't know how Frank Miller can like live with himself disrespecting the source material like that. That sums it up. I don't even want to go on anymore because it's just, you need to see it and you need to see how bad it is, and it's just not how to make a movie. And I can seriously say that it's the worst thing that I've ever seen in the theater. Yeah. I mean, I've seen worse things on straight to video and on TV, but for something...
For a big budget film that had so much of a pedigree behind it, and for what we would think would be talented people.
For the so-called talented people who were in it. Yeah. The movie looked kind of nice at times. Yeah. The cinematography was pretty nice. Other than that, man, it was just the dialogue.
You know what set me off that I thought that the movie was in trouble was when you would look at all the movie posters and they looked like something like a fan could have put together. Yeah. You know, that font that they would do all the dialogue in. I mean, it looked like fan fiction type artwork. You know, like fan generated artwork. So that's when I said, we're in trouble here.
Well, and that, to put one of the worst things about that movie on the poster was the dialogue. I mean, as soon as I saw some of that dialogue on those posters, like, oh man,
just shut up and bleed. Oh. Oh, well, there you have it. Jose's unadulterated.
I mean, and opinion. I know that wasn't even like a real review. Yeah. I don't,
It's sucked
think of myself as a writer or a good reviewer or anything, but that's just how I feel about that movie. Mm-hmm. Okay, so take from it whatever the fuck that you want, but that was my impression of the movie and my thoughts about the movie. And there's just one scene in there that literally, and I talked to another customer who saw it. There's one scene in that movie where it just crushes your soul, and you just want to get the fuck out of there. And it's funny because it was the exact same scene at the exact same time. Avi thought the same thing, and a customer, I was talking to him, and I told him about that. Yeah, there was this one scene.
What's the scene?
There's a scene. There's a scene where the spirit's tied up, and Scarlett Johansson and Frank Miller, Samuel Jackson are dressed up as Nazis.
I heard of that scene. Yeah, I heard of that scene.
Wow. And seriously, man, it crushed my fucking soul. I just wanted to get the fuck out of there.
All right. That's a review. You've been waiting for it, and here you have it. We'll come back and talk about some better stuff in our next segment. Thanks for joining us.